There's a great man who once said, "The earth is the cradle of humanity." But let's be honest, who wants to stay in the cradle when there's an entire universe out there to explore? Ladies, gentlemen, and my fellow star travelers, today I'm here to introduce you great personality. She started Space Kids India 16 years after she was married. Well, if you ask me, that's a great feat. But she didn't stop there. She sent her first ever balloon sat to near space in 2014. A remarkable feat that was just the beginning. After that, as we gaze upon the cosmos, we see the fruits of her labor. 20 balloon satellites, 3 suborbital satellites, and 4 orbital satellites, each being a testimony to how much humans can innovate and achieve. And all of this is done by us and our little blue planet. Let's give it up for Dr. Srimathy Kesan, the founder and CEO of Space Kids India, with a thunderous round of applause.
I had the privilege of introducing this incredible woman many years ago, and then we went on to become friends. But I just want to say, since the space fever is going all around and you got the bug many decades ago, we wanted you to do the honors of inviting Wing Commander onto the stage.
I think we need to do a little more before we bring him onto the dais, because there's so much more that is hidden. And he's a hero to the entire world. If you speak to any Russian, with great pride, they say, "You're going to meet Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma." You know, that's the kind of feel they have for him. Every time we go and speak about him, there is some kind of a, because 40 years in a country like India, one man, just one man, ruling the space industry is not easy. And now, with thunderous applause, I would request Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma to come to the dais. Thunderous applause, children, for him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I must say there's an American expression which goes like gobsmacked. Ever since I've come here, that's the feeling I have right now, because I have seen the tremendous facilities which are available here. But what I have also seen is the potential of the human spirit, which transcends everything. And I have a very, very important message which is off the program, and that is for all the students of SSVM. And that is, you will never get this kind of a facility. Please, please, make the most of it. And I have a confession to make, and that is that when I was a student, I was always dreaming, and often I was punished for dreaming in class. Dreaming is good, but not if it interferes with your journey towards what you want to realize. How do you make that dream come true? That is the chance I took.
Kudos to you, sir. Thank you so much for accepting to come here and inspire the next generation. And almost 10,000 students are listening to you today. Right. Well, we start with Sare Jahan Se Acha, which is the most popular thing that everybody, and Ms. Meghalai had sung it so beautifully. I could see 4 of you all standing so cramped together. So you mean to say Soyuz is so close. How was the training for that? Because it's very difficult to go up there. You were there almost 7 days, 21 hours. How did you feel that? How was the training?
I'll start with the disclaimer that my information is 40 years old, and I don't believe much would have changed during this period, primarily because the human body has not changed. And essentially, the training is to condition the human body to adapt to conditions of zero gravity and the environment which you're going to be operating in while you are in orbit. So basically, there's a lot of medical stuff. They prepare you both for endurance, for resilience. They check you out for claustrophobia, like you just mentioned. For 72 hours, you're locked up individually in a room without television, without books, without a clock, without external sunlight getting into it. So it's like solitary confinement for 72 hours. And while you're there, you're given computational problems to see whether there is any degradation in your analytical ability. That is one aspect of it. Then there are other changes which go on in the human body due to a lack of gravity. And the most important change is that the fluid shifts towards the head because there's no gravity. On Earth, when you stand up, there is the heart being at this, for most of us, this position. The heart has to push up the blood against gravity towards the head. When you remove gravity from the equation, the heart doesn't know that you've shifted your location. So it continues pumping at the same rate. And when it does that, there's too much of blood in the upper extremities. So they train you for that so that it is not a shock when you are transported. And by the way, it takes only about 526 seconds to go from 0 to about 7.5 kilometers per second in orbit. So this change happens very, very suddenly, but you are ready for it because your body is conditioned to handle those things. So these are the aspects which the training
is done.
in. Yeah.
But every day for almost 2 years you've been trained. Any day did you feel, why me? Did you feel that?
No, I didn't, because it fell into my lap. I have to admit that it wasn't my ambition to go up into space. It wasn't because India did not have a manned space program, and in that sense, I'm a realist, and my limited aim I had already was lucky enough to achieve. That is, I was already flying fighter aircraft. So it fell into my lap, and then I said, oh my God, now let's make the most of it. I mean, you can't cop out, obviously. You got to, and I found that energy to do that because I was wearing the Indian flag on my shoulder.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Now, when Mrs. Indira Gandhi mentioned, how is India? What was the true feel that came out?
You know, I haven't been able to live it down because really speaking, that line was not mine. It was Muhammad Iqbal's line, and we somehow stop on the first line itself. But if I urge you all to read the entire poem which Muhammad Iqbal has written, it's so emotive and it's connects so very well and it describes our country so beautifully. So from space, when you see India, ours is a blessed country in that sense because we have a long coastline. And when you see the coastline from space, the color contrast is quite stunning, the coastal areas. And what don't we have? We have the Ghats on the western side. We've got the plateaus of southern India. You keep going from, our orbit was southwest to northeast. So when you go across that, on that pathway, you cross the coastline once, then you come to the plateau, then you come to the Gangetic Plain, then you go over deserts which look golden from space, then you go further north, you're seeing the tropical forests of Assam and the northeast area, and then the Himalayas, which look purple from space because sunlight cannot get into the valleys, which are deep enough, and then the snow-capped mountains. So, and all of this plays out within about 3 minutes, and it's a stunning sight. We live in, indeed, a very beautiful country. It's all ours, and more the reason why we need to support and not destroy God-given environment which nature has bestowed on us.
Speaking of that, sustainability in space. Of course, the theme of today is sustainability. So in space, what do you think is sustainable and how do we have sustainability maintained in space?
Yeah, that's a big problem because you see, with everybody getting in on this act, and we have so many. The problem is that whenever something collides in space, it breaks up into so many different fragments, and those fragments then add to the litter which is already there. So our near-Earth orbit is already quite full of stuff. There are some feeble attempts going on to clean up that debris, but at present there is nothing much happening. So when we talk of sustainability, ships, launchers, returning back for reuse, that is one very important way of reducing, because up till now, these were all one-shot efforts. That is, you have a launcher which the stages keep getting shed off and they keep orbiting the Earth. Maybe the first one falls back onto the sea, but the rest of it keeps orbiting at different altitudes. So yes, littering near Earth orbit is a big problem, and we are looking at a forest of satellites which people are planning to. So going nano is one way to reduce the size, and regulating it and having a system to clean up the mess we make. I mean, look at our planet. That's what it is suffering from, with too much of litter. Right. So
reusable rockets.
Yes.
And reusable, maybe some components that fall down, and perfect, sir.
Yeah.
Moving on, food is a very integral part of the space mission. So you were there close to 8 days. What is the kind of food you had? And is there a difference between the food that astronauts carry now and in your generation?
in my time, there were 80 dishes to choose from. So it was a la carte.
Wow.
And a pretty populated menu, I must say. And we had rice, palaus, and it is made differently with a bit of gelatin so that the grains of rice stick together with each other. Otherwise, in zero gravity, everything would be flying around, you know. So that's how it was. There was enough choice.
Well, again, when we talk about food, again, we talk about human waste, which is, again, an intriguing question to many of the children. Yeah. So how do you manage that in space?
Yeah, so that's one thing that, like, for example, the liquid waste, we had canisters with some hygroscopic material in it, so it absorbs the liquid. And the solid waste, basically there is quite like a WC, and there is a bit of a suction created so that everything gets going in one direction instead of flying about. And it's done in rubber bags, which are then hermetically sealed and then put into another aluminum canister, which frequently gets jettisoned, and it's then revolving around the Earth at 7 kilometers, but then microgravity slowly pulls it back, and then it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere and burns up. So if you remember, during the girls from the convent school, whenever they see a shooting star, they cross their fingers and make a wish. More often than not, they're doing it on human waste.
This is news. Were you a mama's child or a papa's child? And how did your parents manage your fantasies?
You see, my mom, as you've just been informed, she was a teacher at Kendriya Vidyalaya, and my initial, till about class 9 or so, I was mostly dreaming, and she was very unhappy with the report cards. And later, once I made the mistake of standing in the first 10, and when she knew that I was capable of doing that, thereafter it became a millstone round my neck, because I had to produce that each and every time, which was not easy, because I was more interested in outdoor stuff. I played a lot of cricket and things, and so she was very exacting in that way. So I must say that nevertheless, she kept, she was known as Hitler in school, so you can imagine. I must thank her for the discipline she brought home to me, and which is what I'm sharing with the students, requesting them to make the most of the opportunity that they are being given. And that's it. You're very lucky that you've got these facilities here.
50 hours of flying, and you engage yourself into the 1971 war with Pakistan. So a brief about that, because many of the children would like to know how it is to be a fighter pilot.
I felt really scared because I had only about 50 hours of experience on the MiG-21. And, but I was, again, very fortunate that my progress till then was satisfactory enough for my boss to allow me to take part in the operations. But as you know that the 71 war, the Pakistan Air Force did not want to engage very much with the Indian side, primarily because they were not very sure how long this skirmish is going to last. And they didn't know, they were protecting their resources. So we had very close encounters, but it did not develop into a combat situation. Had it developed, to be very honest, I don't think I would have been able to do very well.
So from a fighter pilot to a cosmonaut to a test pilot.
Yeah.
So your journey has been incredible. Which one do you think is the most close to your heart?
Well, I think testing is, because it changes your perspective. You begin to realize, it changes the way you think, the way you approach a problem, because what test flying requires is power of observation. Obviously, you've got to execute the test accurately, because otherwise your results are colored. So you got to fly well, you got to observe well, you got to record the data accurately. In our time, we had a pad and stuff, so we didn't have automatic data recorders. So I think it really sharpens your decision making, and it goes, even after you retire, it changes the way you approach a problem. More importantly, it teaches you how to deal with the unknown, test flying, because you're forever doing stuff which has not been done before, and so the best way to really go about it is first read up all that is available. There's no point you adding to a database by making a mistake. Why not go through the database and find out who are the others who've made the same mistake and learn from that?